Day 16. Last time I worked on giving a little more feedback to the character when the player moves. And this time, I'm still stuck on just polishing what I already have instead of adding new features. First things first, adding a proper UI for the stats, because this is not acceptable. 4 things to keep in mind. Keep it simple and don't clutter the screen too much. Once again, one of the best websites I know about, GameUIDatabase.com, is here for the rescue once again. When I worked on the inventory UI, I got some inspiration for the Resident Evil 7 game. And since that game is more of an adventure than survival, it doesn't have a dedicated stats UI, so it won't be helpful in this case. I did find some other ones that I liked, for example, the health UI of the Generation Zero. But I also quite like that stat UI from Kona. So I'm going to be combining them together, if I can. One big health bar which shows both the progress bar and the numerical value, and then just progress bar for the rest of the stats, which are stamina, hunger, and thirst. And then just cram it in the bottom left corner so it doesn't bother the player unless the player specifically wants to look at it. That's the HUD UI. But I also want a more in-depth showcase of all the stats in some character UI display. I was thinking of adding this info to the inventory, but then I think it will block the center of the screen. So instead I'm adding a dedicated stats UI when you press B. The UI is located in the same place as the inventory, or rather the other side. And it will allow for increasing stats when, leveling up. I do not have that set up yet, but I will in the future. But for now, it just displays the info and doesn't have any actual gameplay value. But it's also the only place you can see your attributes, which are strength, agility, and vitality. One more thing I did is add a dedicated drainable stat modifier. I talked about this in the stats video, but the summary is that hunger and thirst currently can be modified to drain less. They can just be modified to have more. So instead of making the hunger tick 0.5, per second or whatever, you can't do that. You can just increase the hunger value so technically it drains slower. So now the player can, for example, gain a feat or a talent that will allow for the hunger or thirst to drain less over time. And that's the creative error of the day committed. I'll go commit another one tomorrow, when I'll be working on adding a couple more items to the game. Until then.